Hello and welcome to this YouTube channel. In case you're just joining this YouTube channel for the first time, my name is Miracle Naji and I started my career in management consulting and currently I work as an investment professional within the venture capital space. I'm going to be starting a series on venture capital which I intend to break down all the different aspects of venture capital transaction and all you need to know about a venture capital firm. So the first part of the series will be primarily targeted to entrepreneurs, founders that are looking to raise a venture capital funding. The goal of the video is to help you know everything you need to understand about how venture capital operates. So without any further ado, let's get started. Welcome back. So for some time now, the word startups have dominated the business landscape and often causing confusion as to the difference between a startup and a small business. Unlike small businesses, startups are young companies with a high risk of failure, yet with high growth potential once the company can be able to validate its solutions to customer problems and can find a supporting business model that can scale across several markets. This future of high risk makes startups unattractive to traditional sources of capital like banks, which are risk adverse and would want to provide capital only to businesses with operational cash flows to service the loans and pay back the principal, or at least have some tangible asset that can serve as collateral. This funding gap makes a case for the emergence of venture capital. So what is venture capital? Venture capital is a type of financing provided by firms or investment funds to early stage companies with high growth potentials in exchange for equity ownership in the company. That means the provider of venture capital financing becomes a co-owner of the business. Now, one who provides venture capital to startups is known as a venture capitalist. More on this in a later video. For context, investing in startups is very risky. Studies show that about 90% of startups fail within their first 5 years of operations. This failure can be due to several factors such as the inexperience of the founders, adverse macroeconomic conditions, stiff competition, and regulatory bottlenecks. There are a dime and dozen factors that could make a startup fail. Venture capitalists, because of their skin in the game as co-owners of the business, do not just provide financing to startups, but they also roll up their sleeves to act as mentors, supporting this business across critical areas like technology, markets, business model, and the commercial aspects of the business. The venture capitalist also provides their investee startups with a critical network of business partners, talents, and funders that can help the business to grow and succeed. Already, from all I've said, you can pinpoint some benefits of venture capital for your startup. The first and the most obvious being access to capital. The second and also very important is access to mentorship and business support from experienced individuals who are either past entrepreneurs, successful investors, experienced industry experts that can roll up their sleeves and support you in your business. The third one is access to network. This is very critical because as the saying goes, sometimes business is all about the relationship that you have. Then risk management. Now most funders will try to bootstrap their business for the first few years of operation, most times investing their life savings into the startups. But remember, the risk of a startup failing is very, very high. So imagine that you've invested your life savings into that business and it fails, you lose everything. But with venture capital funding, this loss is spread across several other individuals, helping you minimize the risk of losses in your own business. At this point, it is also important to mention that whilst venture capital comes with so many advantages, it also comes with its own downsides. The first one being loss of ownership. As I mentioned earlier, venture capital provides funding to startups in exchange for ownership stake in the business, which means that you are going to be losing some ownership stake in your business. But not to worry, most venture capital only take up minority stake in the business. The second one is loss of control and decision making power. Now, because of the risk that these venture capital firms will be taking up when they invest in your business, they would all often want to have a decision making right in the business, for instance, taking up a seat in the board so that they can be able to influence critical decisions that will affect the growth of the business so that their investment is protected and they can get returns. The third one is growth at the expense of innovation. I would want to mention that most venture capital firms would have a timeline they would wish to exit their investment in that particular startup. So this could come with pressure on the founders to want to achieve growth within a short period of time so that these venture capital firms can exit their investment and have returns back to their limited partners. The last one is time consuming. Now, when you set out to raise venture capital funding, you will discover that you begin to spend more and more of your time talking to investors, pitching your business to them, and getting them to invest in your business, as opposed to spending that same amount of time building your product and talking to your customers, so that you can have a useful product that the customers want and they are willing to pay for it. So in conclusion, because of the high risks and failure faced by most startups, venture capitalists are very essential pieces that ensure that startups are still able to get funding they need to try and build a business. However, while venture capital funding can provide a startup with the much needed financial and knowledge capital, it also comes with its own downside of loss of control and loss of some decision making power in the business. I'll wrap it up for here for now until the next video where I'm going to be breaking down the unique aspects of venture capital and try to expose venture capital in more detail. Thank you very much and see you in the next video.